Welcome to part 2 of this 2-part series with Matt Deseno, deep in the mind of understanding what it takes to build a multi-million-dollar business on top and around the Go High Level ecosystem. Matt Deseno is the founder of HL Pro Tools, who HL Pro Tools is responsible for powering over 1,000 Go High Level agencies and implementing high levels technology and deploying that technology. What does it look like behind the business? What does the day-to-day look like of the CEO? In this episode, me and Matt break down what the day-to-day infrastructure looks like. What does it mean to have margin inside of your business? What does it mean to have margin inside of your personal life? And most importantly, how you can do the same results. Now, am I telling you that you're going to be able to run a $10 million business just by listening to this one episode? Maybe. But most importantly, it's possible. However, most will never likely create those results because they don't know what you're about to learn inside of this episode. This episode is by far one of my most favorite episodes because we go deep into the mind of a multi-million-dollar CEO and understanding what has helped him create results, but most importantly, what's helping him keep those results. Without further ado, let's get started in this episode with Matt Deseno. Super excited back to have you here again for part 2 of the Matt Deseno podcast on the Andy Audate show. Almost chopped up my own last name. So one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about here was let's get tactical on how do we build that multiple 7-figure business. What are the key differentiators at, let's say, $500,000 or $1 million compared to $5 million, $8 million, $10 million? What are the small things that has to be known? Maybe it is profit first. Maybe it's EOS, right? The Entrepreneur Operating System. Maybe it's KPIs. Maybe it's different funnels. Maybe it's having integrators. What are the key differentiators that your business at $10 million has versus $500,000 or $1 million?
Okay. I think I've heard this from other folks, and I think there's some accuracy to it where they would say, first million is just offer. 1 to 10 is... Actually, now I can't remember exactly what they say there, but I think it's like 0 to 1 is like offer, 1 to 10 is like systems, and like 10 plus is people. Interestingly, is I think the
does the
lower
offer change?
What
Would you say between 1 and 7, for example, does the offer change?
It doesn't have to. No, not at all, because it's just volume, and so it's just like capacity to deliver it. I mean, like fundamentally for us, we've had the same core offer the entire time. You know what I mean? And so like technology changes and there's like nuances there. I think we continue to make the offer better, but on the surface and on the core, as someone who was describing what we do in September of 2020 might say the exact same thing in September of 2025.
Got it.
So we didn't like evolve as in terms of the offer there, but I think we definitely went through an evolution of like the first million is like traction, like is your offer good? The getting to 1 to 10, it's usually systems and volume. It's like doing more reps, and then 10 plus, I'd say people. So my caveat there is I think we've had to grow in sooner seasons because we're relatively low priced. And so if you're a low price provider, as far as like a business is concerned, you might hit those thresholds on different tiers, but I'd say definitely, I could go as low as like 0 to 500 and then go like 500 to 3 million and then like 3 million plus, right? So it's like if you're on a lower priced tier, you might hit those sooner, like the need to grow to each or like improve different aspects in the business. And if you're higher priced, you might go a little bit further. Like I've seen roofing businesses that do 5 million a year and like have little to no processes. And you're like, well, your average ticket size is, 40, 50K. So like those are the things that kind of like push it there. Tactically speaking, I think about it this way, and I've heard it said really well it was Alex Becker, I think, it created Hyros. He said, initially, we just spent money to get customers, right? You spend money to get customers. then you talk to those customers and you make your business, product, service, whatever it is, better and better and better and better, so much so that you no longer have to spend money. And that's really the goal, is to get your product so good that each customer sends you more customers. That's kind of like the other maturing level to it. But I'd say, like, as you do it in more volume, like, well, you need more systems. Like, you realize a great product for a few folks doesn't translate to a great product for many folks. You, even if like the offer was great, it will require more energy to fulfill on it. And so then you have to strengthen in those ways. And so the yeah, that's definitely been the case for us. I mean, we did not run any paid advertising for the first 3 years of the business.
So what I'm hearing is like a heavy emphasis on the offer.
Initially, to get traction, yeah, your offer needs to be so good. I mean, this is a Hermosi thing. Your offer needs to be so good, people feel silly saying no.
And is the offer the stack? Is the offer the service or the product?
Yeah.
What would you say the offer is?
Yeah, I talk about it as a bridge. So marketing, this is very like heady marketing, but I do have a master's and have taught marketing in university. It's connecting people to other people that have a product or service. It's just the connection.
The offer is connecting people?
Well, no, that's marketing.
Okay. Marketing
is connecting people to other people that have something to sell.
Okay.
It's the connection process there.
Okay.
And so I think about it in that frame of like, oh, it's the connection. Now, offer is probably the easiest transfer of understanding that you have something to sell me. Right? So step 1 is connection. Step 2 is connecting them and understand there's something to buy. And so I call it the bridge. And you could think about this as the offer. The offer is baked into it. So it's person, problem, product, payoff.
In part 1 of this interview series with you,
yeah,
out of this 2-part interview series, one of the things you mentioned is like in the beginning, you were just doing websites. So when I think about, okay, you're doing websites and then you have the skill set to build and develop other things on top of websites. You're building Zaps and you're doing other things. At what point do you say, hey, I'm only going to do tech support and then I'm going to add on top of tech support?
I think.
And is that a key contributor to a $10 million business versus a $500,000 or $400,000?
Okay. So I'm doing a series right now on saying no. I think this is actually one of those valuable skills entrepreneurs need to develop, is saying no. Super uncomfortable, but I've come to the point where I realize most of the meaningful things in my life that I value were the result of 99 no's and 1 yes. And so that's kind of what you're getting at there, is like when's the right time to say no? And probably earlier and more often than you think. And sometimes it's by accident. Occasionally it's intentional. You generally have to say yes to some things to even figure out what you want to say no to. Like the question we talked about on the part 1 was like, what do you want? A lot of people can't clarify that. They can't even answer what they want. And but when you know what you want, which could come from trying, could come from exploration, or if you have a hunch that you should say no, then you should start. Like you should honestly start working the muscle of saying no as early and often as possible. I can give you one. This is a practical exercise. I think this is super clarifying for folks. Most of us struggle with saying no because we have this negative perception about it. That no is a rejection. That no is casting harm on someone else. I realized I just did a reel about this, is the biggest mistake I had around saying no was feeling that I needed to justify my no. I don't know if anyone else resonates with that. And here's one thing that I do practically to get better at my association and comfort with saying no. I drink a lot of coffee. Every time I order coffee, I ask for a discount. It goes like this. It's like, and I go to Starbucks a lot. Starbucks doesn't do coupons or discounts. They've got standard operating procedures. They're not flexing on it whatsoever. I just get rejected at least once a day. And a cool thing gets happened and reprograms in my mind is I receive that no, and my life is no worse. Nothing got bad about my day. Nothing. And so now I feel less and less negativity around saying no to folks. Around saying, I don't even like say no, but it's like basically of setting and upholding boundaries, of being specific about what I will do and also what I won't do. And so maybe that's what you're getting at. It's like, when's the right time to like dig deep and go into it? It's like, well, I would say practice, work the muscle of saying no.
Is it to yourself or is it to like the marketplace?
It's everywhere. I
Okay.
think it's everywhere, right? So like there's, I've grown to love the feeling of hunger. This is a weird sensation. I used to have a discipline of fasting, but I've like re-brought it back. And I don't commonly do full day fasts or 36-hour fasts, 24-hour fasts. I occasionally do them, but I will commonly push to feel hungry before a meal. And part of it is because I love the building of saying like, I can say no right now. My body wants to eat. And I can, but I'm saying no. And so that exercise of control, and also it's like I say no, and like nothing got worse in my life there. And so
in building going from, let's say 1 to 10.
Yeah.
You're saying, what I'm hearing is
1 to 10 with systems.
You got to say no more often.
Oh yeah.
So far.
So here's a good example. I had to say no to, let me think. For us, it came kind of later there. I had to say no to entrepreneurial distractions. That's what it took. We talked about this in the last episode of like, it's very tempting when you reach a ceiling of your capacity
to start something new,
or to be like, well, why don't I just do what I already know how to do? Why don't I do the comfortable thing? Why don't I just do it again in a different area there? Because that's, you get to 1 and you're like, I have a great idea to get to 10 million. I should just do 10 $1 million a year businesses. That is literally, everyone feels this pressure, and it's counterintuitive, but I think there's way more stories of people who think that way, and the result is they start a new one and it actually kills the first one. So then they come back and they're like, oh, I got to 1 again. Okay, let me start another one. And then it kills the second one, and they get another one. Or it's like they start 3 and it's like, now I have 3 doing $300,000 a year.
Oh my goodness. You went from one $1 million business to
three $300,000 businesses. And I think a lot of folks, that's the journey they're on there. And it's just it's a trap.
Let's talk about tactical in your journey then.
Yeah.
So HR Pro Tools.
Yeah.
BAM.
Yeah.
Dominate Local.
Yeah.
Zappy Chat. You run. What else is there? You had Cairo Dominance.
Yeah, we bought into a number of businesses that I intentionally don't associate with me.
The ones that associate with you, that you're part of the
That's
visionary.
it.
So
yeah.
five that you're part of the visionary.
Yeah.
You're at a stage where you
got it down to 1.
Sold Cairo Dominance.
Yeah.
Sold Zappy Chat, which we get to talk about.
Yeah, so we actually
is BAM just holding?
BAM is literally just team. So Dominate Local, we rolled into another brand that was not associated with me. And it I think I've shared this on the newsletter. I don't know if you've seen this. So what we did is we bought into another brand that had like a strong integrator to some extent. And we had the systems, the place, and also like an existing subscribership that were like, oh, surge this thing. So we took them from $30K a month to like $300K a month in 4 or 5 months.
Was that 270 delta yours? The $270,000 delta?
That wasn't ours. So we bought 50. This kind of commonly happened where we'll buy out a partner, kind of deadweight partner. And I didn't do enough due diligence here. So what ended up happening, so we absorbed what we had, we merged it with this, we scaled it up because I thought the limitation for me, it is the attention piece of it. I've only been able to do these things because we have operators in place. And yeah, I don't know if I've shared this in a recording. So we bought in, merged, surged, and I called it this fixer-upper. I was like, and it felt magical. I'm telling you, it felt magical. It felt like we were printing money for about 9 months. And then this weird thing happened where the marketing was still working. The cash wasn't hitting the bank account. And luckily I have other integrators and operators around me who like obsess over this sort of stuff. And the person who we had partnered with had, call it shady ex business dwelling or dealings, and they had some other business that they took out a loan from Stripe and tried to kind of not pay it. Stripe somehow made the connection, and so Stripe started filtering all of the funds from our Stripe account into this other Stripe account that had some debt. I don't even know how much or what was going on there. And so it basically killed the business overnight for a couple of reasons. So one, we had a pretty aggressive marketing budget. We were doing a pretty steady 2+ ROAS. And so we were just in hyper growth mode. Spend, but it was it was matching. When at first, so that's one thing, we're spending out a ton of money. And on the surface, the reports we're getting are saying it's succeeding. Transactions are happening. By the time we realized it wasn't hitting the bank account, because it was actually just filtering out of Stripe into this other thing over there, we basically flipped hundreds of thousands of dollars. I ultimately net lost money on the deal because we didn't catch it soon enough. And there was definitely a burn of trust there.
Did you run profit first on that business?
We did not. Yeah.
If you ran profit first on that business, would you have caught it sooner?
I'm trying to think. The issue was the exposure to rapid growth. So if you're spending,
what was the time frame from?
I think it took us about a month to figure it out.
Okay, yeah,
so,
that's realistic. Okay.
And so if our burn, I think we got up to a $200,000 per month burn rate on it. And because we were just
because it came out of nowhere, right? On Stripe?
It just disappeared. I never experienced this before.
Yeah.
Where Stripe, basically don't try to screw Stripe or this is nonsense. I'm too trusting of a person. These are the lessons I had to learn to get shrewd. So basically that one was not a win. It was a loss. I mean, I've documented it. I've said this is the in our fixer-upper journey, I count that one as an L. And that's you have to be shrewd about who you partner with.
So many people could look at social media and say, "Wow, it's all W's." So that's a loss. And strategically, how is that? How do you place these businesses? So is it? So you said you rolled up Dominate Local, which was your white label, go high level SaaS, into another SaaS.
Yep.
And then did you essentially lose?
I lost it all. So here's the weird thing. We were 49-51.
You 49?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we bought out a minority partner. This is it's just a change of belief and experience here, and it's interesting. A lot of folks won't share these stories. I don't know why. I do know why, because I don't know, it's embarrassing or whatever it is. And so so you're not full control. We intentionally did some deals. So Cairo Dominance, I'll say, is an example of a win where we were minority control, and I'm happy with it. But we had a very integritous partner. You just it really matters then.
This is someone that you've been working with for a long time.
If it's a good partner or a bad partner there. And so Dar, phenomenal human being, great operator, and lots of trust. There kind of is trust there, because really at the end of the day, it's do you want to take legal action? Even if you have grounding, even if you're standing there too, it's is that worth the energy? And if you play your true downside, it's if someone's already sort of criminal or unethical, it's do you want to chase them around the world?
Yeah.
You know, it's you're going to spend out more money and energy than doing that. So basically, we lost it because there was a break of trust. And I honestly was I don't want to be associated.
So you just walked away.
It exposed a couple. I mean, there was a lot. When that came out, then we realized oh man, what else was being hidden from us? So then we took a deeper look, and I was so I just walked away. We walked away. We were to have it back. And I've just realized
Did
in
you
business,
move your subscribers back to?
No, couldn't. And that was awkward. That was awkward. It feels like we got used and abused. I say we. So I've got Graham.
Mm-hmm.
I brought Graham into everything. And so Graham is my work marriage. Great visionary integrator relationship there. Super strong. He's a super strong operator, and that's an example. Who caught it? Graham caught it. I'm the kind of person is I don't even look at the money, And I'm just like, the account grows, and so it's fine, it's good. And like, this is our dynamic. I sign up for stuff all the time. He doesn't even do it now, but he set systems in place where the team literally audits and cancels things every single month.
How often do you look at Stripe?
How often do I look at Stripe? I mean, honestly, now, like, never. I never look at Stripe. Now, it's not that I don't look at the numbers. So I'm at a place where I manage most of things just through my phone, and it's Tiffany who literally texts me like the key scoreboard things. Like, we have scoreboards that show up for the team, and they're in Slack or it's in Stripe or in reporting. They use like Airtable. I don't even log into those things. She texts me little screenshots, and so I see the numbers. I know whether our team is winning or our team is losing. It's probably not that dramatic, but are we winning? Are we heading in the right direction towards our goals, or do we need to like enact change here? But it's all via my phone now.
How often do you slow down to build out processes and systems and operations?
Me personally, I have a ton of, call it, unscheduled time. I think, though, the most remarkable things in businesses are done under false constraints. So I'll put it this way. No one cares whether you succeed. No one really cares whether you hit your goals. Like, if you show up at your, like, Christmas party at the end of the year and you're telling your family, like, man, I only got 10% growth in the business year, not 30%. No one's crying a tear for you whatsoever. The people around you, the threshold is like, are you homeless? Are you in need of me?
Yeah.
If you're not in need of me and like you're not starving, you're homeless, like like, I don't know, like on the verge of needing me, they don't care. So every other thing you achieve in the business is a false constraint. You put the pressure on yourself. You decided. I go back to like, what did you want? So like for us, where's our goal this year in terms of material growth? Let's say it's about like a 2x was, I think, what we put on for the year.
Top line?
Top line and steady bottom line. So it's like we've got set there for like this is what we need to do top line, and we need to keep the bottom line as a percentage of what we're doing there, which is still incredibly ambitious goals. But I'm in this space where it's like as a leader, your dreams have to be big enough to fit the dreams of your team.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're gonna go somewhere else. And so so these big goals, nobody cares. Like I think the team cares now because we found a way where they participated into it. But genuinely, for all these things, nobody cares. So the constraints that you put, like those goals are constraints. I want to do X in 1 year. It's a constraint. But the constraint is what makes it remarkable.
Yeah.
I heard it's like, if you want to become a millionaire, like let's say you want to make $1 million. If I told you, here's the secret, just get a minimum wage job in California for 30 years and you'll make $1 million. No one is like, that's desirable. It was the constraint that made it desirable.
Yeah.
And so what I do now is, I like my current schedule is I only work until the kids wake up. And so that means I generally start my day earlier, and I remove most calls from my plate there. And so in terms of like how much time to get spent on the deep work stuff like there, right now it's either solving big problems for the team or slotting the role that I think I can uniquely fill, which is a lot of that is content. It's interesting because I'm coming off of a season of being completely removed from social media. I had my father-in-law passed suddenly, just dropped dead in the entryway
of your house.
Yeah, and it was pretty traumatic.
Did you find him, or Erica found him, or?
No, his Sandy found him. My mother-in-law found him, but we were right there, and man, there's so much stuff you don't know about death. You're like, in my mind, I thought like the police would show up and like take the body away. It took like 5 or 6 hours for like the coroner, and so I was with the kids. Erica was there with his body, and it's you don't think about that. Like, so there was so much. I went into a deep season of grief, I'll say. I'm saying now, like, I'm out of it. I don't feel like you're never 100% out of it, but it was enough of a material shift. People noticed and commented. Like, I used to have a pretty disciplined publishing schedule, and I shut it all down. I just needed space. I don't know. I think part of it was maybe a fear of sharing that darkness. I think I'm a generally positive, get glass half full kind of person.
Yeah.
And so I feel an obligation to bring the party a little bit, or to bring the positivity. And like, it's interesting. Like I just am that way. Show up and I feel that way. So then when I was like, I want to be real, but I don't want to go on like just post about being depressed or feeling this emptiness.
How was business operations while you were in, I want to say sabbatical, but like your time away?
We've been doing record months, which is actually, so this is, I've shared this once before. I call it my margin flywheel. These are like kind of the 4 identities I think you need to go through as an entrepreneur to build. For me, the goal is if I can win professionally and be famous in my own home, that's the win. That's honestly what I feel like is my mission to help other folks. I want to help people win professionally and be famous in their own home. Systems save when seasons change. And that's like real talk. All these identities, all this stuff, for me, it's straight out of the Bible. I was not raised reading and learning the Bible, so for me, it came in adulthood, and I'm gonna tell you, there's truth there. So this is like straight out of Joseph. He had this vision from God of like, you're gonna have a famine. So what do? He put in this system to store from 7 years of plenty, and then out of that, they not only were able to sustain themselves, but they were a blessing to other people who were suffering because they put a system in place. And that was a system of, living, like storing up. They created systems, and those systems save when seasons change. And so for me, I found that absolutely to be the truth, is like, systems are most valuable when you are in times of distress. That's when you realize the value of the system. And that's what I had, is like, I look back, the major source of leads for us was YouTube. And these were videos that I published years ago. Years ago. I had not put a new YouTube video on for 6 months. And for those 6 months, we were sustained by the work that I'd done beforehand. And I'd say same thing with like the team, the stability, middle management, clarifying vision, running like due process, having a consistent operating system. This is EOS for us. All of that stabilized when I had to pull back and go away. Like the one piece of content that sustained was the one that didn't require my face. And that means it really didn't require me. So I edit, but if I'm honest, I did not edit in this season. And this is my newsletter. And so
you didn't publish any content?
That got published still weekly because it didn't require my face. So the team did it without me.
Were you writing it?
They were rolling on the bank. There's two. Here's a cool system. Here's a tactical thing is I think a key leverage point for any entrepreneur is your story. I mean, I really believe that like God gives you a unique breath in your lungs, and like you being you is your competitive advantage. Truly. I believe that. And so that's true for me, is the breath in my lungs is my competitive advantage. The life that I live is uniquely mine. And so the lens, the eyes, my experience, all of that is uniquely my competitive advantage. In the world of AI, where the barrier to content, the barrier to production, the barrier to so many things is being torn down, and we're essentially using the same leverage, right? It's like for a second when the car was invented, like if you had a car, you were the fastest, person on the road. Now everyone's got cars, right? So and then it's little things. Now it's like, oh, how do you drive the car? Well, so for me with AI, it's your story. If you want to leverage your unique competitive advantage, which is your breath, your experience, start feeding that into AI. And so I still have a pretty strong habit of walking. And my favorite thing to do is to walk and essentially journal through a conversation and I just make that transcript and I pump it into ChatGPT, and now all of those stories are right there. There's memory stored. And if I say like, hey, you know how I write this newsletter, AI, can just pick a story from the last month, something you think will resonate, what I like, from ideation to refinement to like just brainstorming. Like, AI is so helpful there. But the difference between someone else who's just like, AI, write me a newsletter, and it's total garbage, and mine, where I get positive comments and replies every single week, is because it's born out of my life.
Yeah, it's real. It's you. It's you. So what I'm hearing is the systems that you've developed before, the unfortunate passing of your father-in-law actually took care of your household and the team that you're responsible for while you were away.
100%. I mean, it's kind of crazy to me, but like literally people getting bonuses, like record months, and I felt like a lame duck, dead fish.
How much of the systems come from you versus Graham, or is there additional versions of integrators in the operations?
Oh, yeah, we have a whole operations team there. It's been interesting that like I still think Graham and I, as at least founders, founder energy is really good for pioneering. For two reasons. There's the old adage, like, you can always spot a pioneer because they'll be face down in the mud with arrows in their back. And it's meant, and I take it in like two ways, that illustration. So one is, as the pioneer, if you're the founder pioneer, you have the discernment, you have the endurance to weather those arrows, and then the discernment to change direction. If I delegate pioneering to the team, two things might happen. One, they will optimize for success for the individual instead of the team. Or they will optimize for compliance instead of for longevity. And so like the two scenarios there is like, they'll take shortcuts, not because it's best for the company, but because there's less arrows in their back. It's just less painful. Or they will start, like, they'll go off in one direction and be like, there's a chasm here, and we have to build a 200-foot bridge. And they'll start building that bridge. And they will, because they'll be like, well, this is the straight path. Like, I got to build the bridge. And they'll spend a year building the bridge. And you'll check in and be like, oh, dude, we could have just had a rope swing. Or if you like go 50 feet down the road, it's like a 10-foot bridge you need to build. And so like in either one of the scenarios, I see that like they'll take shortcuts that don't optimize for the company, or they will essentially stay on this really painful path, working hard in an unproductive manner. And as a founder, you're just able to kind of do one, like hold the tension of like, if it's painful, but it serves the company, it's worth doing. Or is this not valuable? Like, do we not need to have a straight path here, and we instead just need to get there? We need to get to the other side faster. And so you can like hold the tension there. And so founders are really good at pioneering. So I think Graham and I still pioneer systems pretty often. We've definitely gotten to a space where we teach systems engineering for the team and try to continue to like decentralize that decision-making process. So
are you more so, you and Graham more so the architecture of the systems, and then there's other people that implement?
I'd say right now we're actually more editors.
Oh, editors.
So there's definitely more folks that create systems, and we come behind and edit it. We encourage a lot of like AI first. Like, you just have to keep, like, that's an example where someone will be like, they're building the 200-foot bridge, and you'll be like, or like that, they're building the bridge out of wood, and you're like, oh, here's AI. It's actually like a hovercraft that like hovers you across the water. Like, you don't even need to build a bridge anymore.
Yeah.
Like, just leverage AI here. You get the same result. We get across the chasm, but in a different way. That's maybe a new way to like solve the problem. And so we'll come behind, because we still see that team will be there, and they'll be like, they'll have the right vision for engineering a solution there, but it'll just be like a 1 month. And I'm like, oh, let me show you a 1 hour solution.
What is the biggest threat that you identified for your company today?
Okay. The biggest threat is that I didn't have a championship mindset.
What does that mean to you?
So I have an abundance mindset, which is great. I think super healthy. Some of it's the product of I talked about in the last episode. I was kind of pre-wired to, at the very least, live beneath my means, so I could make decisions not from a place of desperation. I've been able to make a lot of decisions not from desperation. Part of this, though, is I will see things in the marketplace and let's say alternatives, and I will kind of take a live and let live approach, because I really do believe that. You know, we've talked about this, like, hey, the market's big enough.
Yeah.
But you're asking me what's the biggest threat to the company? It is that, because that
the market's big enough?
No, that's not a championship mindset. Like, I love.
Oh, you're saying sharing in the marketplace, dominating in the marketplace is a champion mindset.
This is a new thing that I've like recognized in myself. That's definitely a shift in direction. It'll be interesting to see if other folks notice without hearing me say it. But for the sake of my team, we're here to dominate. Like, I have to be committed to a championship ring for my team. And so that doesn't mean I don't love, that there's, let's say this, I've kind of said it, so like, hey, there's space for everybody to win. But like, frankly, my mindset had to change, where it's like, yeah, there's space for everyone to win, but like, there's going to be an undeniable first place. And there is not space. It's just a harsh reality for the company, or it's like my obligation, which is just, it's just interesting. You know what I mean? And I'll give it to you this way. I've let alternatives exist that actually created a worse life experience for people. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but like, we've cross-hired from alternatives, and I realized that my live and let mindset, my live and let live, I did a disservice, and I actually feel the weight of that. That some people's lives are materially worse because I wasn't like a Google or a Meta category king mindset there, where it's like, hey, I appreciate that there was a good idea or an alternative, and now I'm going to adopt and squash. And so it's a different space there. It's interesting too to come now. We've been able to liquidate a lot of things that I think were mental distractions there, and I feel a clarity that we're moving into a season of just unashamed domination.
Which leads us into selling a SaaS company.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
It is, so Zappy Chat is the first time I've ever sold something that I started. I told you, basically we had the two other brands. One sold to private equity, but I didn't start it. And that felt cool. It was definitely like, it was like a win.
For the first one that you sold to PE, were you the catalyst to set it up for PE?
No. This is, share the story of Cairo Dominance there, is so our main referral partner got acquired by private equity, and they kind of snowball.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And so it was an interesting dynamic there, because that felt like sale with like a gun at your head. And so I'm proud of how I was able to kind of be a key negotiator there, and I think we did a good deal. And it felt more like,
was there like an email that you publicly said how much you sold it for? Or like a Zoom call that you guys were gonna do?
Okay, I don't have. Every deal has different terms in terms of what's disclosable and not. I've definitely shared it. I don't know if I've shared it recorded, and I don't have the docs in front of me. So I'll give you context into here. So what ends up happening is it benchmarks. So people have like different reasons why you can or can't share. Like, look at high level. Their last round, they could not share.
It's not public, yeah.
They couldn't share. And you'd be like, well, why? Why could they share the first round? They couldn't share the second round. And some of it has to do with the deal structure of what the acquiring company is doing, because that becomes now kind of like a basis for negotiation for other folks. So think of like, it's like real estate. If your neighbor sells their house, you see how much they sell it for. It's like, oh, that's how much my house is worth.
That's your comps. Yeah.
You get comps in there. And so different folks are okay or not okay with it. So you can find in other areas where it's like, I'll say what that deal felt like is we bought. So it felt like it was just a return on investment. So it was a positive return on investment. So that felt good. Felt like a W where I was able to put money in, buy it, get a positive return. I've done deals that felt like that before in real estate, where it's like, oh, we bought into a development. It was like a syndication. I put money up front. They worked it. I wasn't really part of the building process or working phase there. Then it got sold and I got more money back than I put in. You're just like, that's cool. Feels nice.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I describe the first one. Zappy Chat felt different because this carried more mental energy, especially from a visionary perspective. I definitely was not in so much of the day-to-day, but it still felt a little bit like a baby where I felt a high responsibility for customers, for team.
How many people was the team as Zappy Chat BAM employees, or were they separate?
Yeah, this is where it's like accounting wise, they were Zappy Chat employees. So technically, like HL Pro Tools accounts for it independently. Zappy Chat accounts for it independently. BAM is technically the employer when you go to the state level for all of them.
Okay.
So what shows up on their W-2, it's BAM. But in this case, it's like team members basically who are on payroll for BAM now are on payroll for CloseBot. So they were part of the team. They got acquired with the company.
And what made it different to the first one is because it was your baby. Like you started this.
So this it's different in the aftermath.
Seems like you're letting go of a lot of things.
It was a huge release. I imagine it's probably how someone feels like when their kid like graduates and goes out and it's like they're an adult now. And you probably still so a combination of things. There's definitely been things in that post transaction where I thought it would go differently, but I'm not in control. And so I don't have the end all be all.
Are you talking about from a spiritual sense? Are you talking about from like a lawyer talk, or are you talking about law talk?
Yeah, literally what would happen, or it's like how people would interpret it or what they would do with it. So imagine
after the transaction.
Imagine it's not this dramatic. And honestly, Bryce and Laura, I love them as people. I'm super hopeful about CloseBots. I think this will be a win for the majority of people in Zappy Chat. There is a small sliver of folks who, because we were fundamentally built different, we were uniquely serving some folks in a way that is not being replicated in the same way. And so those folks are disappointed, which I understand. So let's pick like a common, like it's like Google. Google acquires something. Like Google acquires YouTube. Nothing changed about YouTube. Just got better, bigger, kept on going. Google acquires some other businesses and they rebrand it as a different product. And it like slightly changes terms, pricing, maybe it gets free, maybe there's no longer a premium version, but it's like sort of still exists. And Google acquires some other things and they literally just kill it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So those are like 3 examples of like Google. You see acquisition, they acquire something, it's like, oh, it stays the same and just gets bigger and better.
What is doing to Zappy Chat so far? In comparison to what you just mentioned about Google.
It is it's just like phased approach. So like basically as of what they're doing is as of January 2026, like right now, what they've said is as of January 2026, Zappy Chat will not exist.
How does that make you feel?
How does that make me feel? I think for the small chunk of folks that are feeling kind of feeling like, who's going to serve me then? I feel like I feel empathy for them. Here's what I've told folks. It's like, gaps create opportunity.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm not going to solve that problem, but someone else might solve the problem. And it's like, I'm like, in that sense, I'm like, that's part of what I've enjoyed about growing a team. My gaps, my deficits create opportunity for other folks. If I could do all the things, no one would have a job. And so in the same way, I'm like, okay, here's a scenario where it's like, yeah, there might be some folks unserved or underserved in this. There's a tinge of like, I'm bummed that like I couldn't be the one to facilitate a solution for you, but I'm also hopeful for whoever fills the gaps. It's like, good for them. Gaps create opportunity. And like I said, I think for the majority of folks, they will plug into CloseBots. It will be a phenomenal solution, and Bryce and their team is like charging forward and creating something phenomenal. And that's where, so what happened is I realized Zappy Chat needed founder energy.
That pioneer energy that you were talking about.
They needed that pioneer energy, and I didn't want to give it.
If you plug in an integrator in something like that, is it more of just sustaining?
Yeah, they'll sustain it. And that's hard for folks to realize is you're like, I think because we couldn't share exact terms, people, they fill in the gap. This is just human nature. When there's a gap, we fill it in with negativity. You just do. But I can clarify confidently. Like, Zappy Chat was not about to die. It was a profitable company. We ran profit first, guaranteed profits.
Yeah.
It was healthy on like most folks' terms. You know what I mean? Like, not even just most folks' terms, like anybody's terms. It was healthy. Like if I like gave you Zappy Chat, you'd be like, thank you, Matt. Like, what a freaking.
Are you able to disclose what you sold it for?
I can't.
Okay.
All I can say is I did a clean break, so it was cash.
Did it what? Clean break?
Yeah. So there's no earnout.
Okay.
There was no performance expectation.
What was it doing? Can you answer what it was doing revenue wise before you let it go?
That's a great question. Here's what I can say. We took it to market, and we got other deals.
So you were intentional about selling it.
Yeah. We knew it was a combination of our integrator was burning out. I told you, like, the business only grows as much as the person who's leading it. And I think he had reached his limit. And not in like an offensive way. It's just like, I get it. Like, you kind of don't know you've reached your limit until you reach your limit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm saying this, like, there are folks that are growing billion-dollar businesses. I don't know if I'm going to grow a billion-dollar business. Like, there's different layers of growth there. And I might just be optimizing for different things. You know what I mean?
Do you feel that some of the customers bought Zappy Chat because it was associated to Matt?
That's a good question. What I most love is there are definitely customers who did not know Matt was associated with it at all.
Okay.
So I have been very much so removed from it for the last few years in particular. So my face was still there, but like I had not created new sales content for Zappy Chat since 2023.
So it's been a couple of years, and it's still been growing financially to the point that you could sell it.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, let's use HR Pro Tools or BAM or even your other brands. People have a relationship with you, whether it's through content, whether it's through, like, I can message you in Slack, or whether it's text or phone, whatever that may look like. And I'm going to assume that you experienced this, that there wasn't a time where people can get in touch with Matt, especially when it was 2020 and you have X amount of customers in the single double digits. I can call Matt. But then there comes a point where it's like, to run a low ticket subscription business with thousands of customers, that it's hard to get in touch with Matt. Have you experienced a level where customers are leaving or customers aren't happy with the fact that they don't have that level of access anymore? Or do you give that level of access to customers?
This is a great question. I think this comes down to is no negative. And so one of my creative ways to say no is just to set your terms, just to set expectations. And so I did a sort of a jokey reel about this the other day, but is I get DMs on Instagram all the time. Pretty sure people trying to sell me something and asking to like want to hop on Zoom. And so all I did is I created a calendar that was a pay calendar
Yeah.
that has open slots. And I'm like, yeah, love it. I think I got some openings. Here's my calendar. And so I just set my terms. If you want to pay this, then I will happily
Get on a call
and
with you.
delightfully hop on a call with you. And so all it is like standards and terms. And I really think that's the miss, is that people have, on some level, there's missed expectations, but really it comes down to unclarified expectations. Like if you don't clarify, they're absolutely missed. And so then you're living in this tension where you might be saying like, hey, if you paid me $1,000 for 15 minutes, I'd love to hop on a call with you. And instead they're saying, can I hop on a call? And you're saying like, no, but really what you're doing is you're prejudging their ability to meet your terms to happily and delightfully say yes. And so that's that. Like I've adjusted a lot of systems there where it's just like, yeah, here's my terms. And so then they might be saying like, oh, I can't meet what you're asking for, but I don't feel bad about it. Like I said, I've just trained the muscle of saying no. And this is one of those versions, is like just knowing the terms to say yes.
How are you saying yes today?
Like, how am I saying yes?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Like, what are the determining factors that allow you to say yes? If there's so much to say no to.
Yeah. I think when you say, so I say no a lot, so I have a lot of open space.
Okay.
I think the really clarifying priorities, and if it fits into a priority, then it's appropriate to say yes. And so like part of this is like having very clear prioritization.
Okay.
Part of that is having good understanding of like scoreboard. So you got like where we're going, very well-defined goals. You've got it broken down to like, here's the scoreboard of like what we need to be at today. You got on track, off track. And we try to get to is like few variables so that I can kind of clearly define like what's the constraint or not the constraint. And then if I know this is the constraint, it's like solve that constraint full out, like 0 to done as fast as possible. And so within that, I have a really good boundary of like, what am I easily saying no to? Not a constraint. And this is more on the business side of it. So maybe if I was going that way, like on the personal side of it, it's like, you know, maybe it's similar.
So,
like figure out your
there's still like the
non-negotiables.
disconnected revenue. Like, is it in alignment with disconnected revenue?
Oh yeah.
So yes, if it's disconnected revenue, is that what I'm hearing?
In terms of like opportunities that way, I mean, like I'll say, it's like crazy. It's crazy to think now. You could measure your you want to measure your like net worth in a meaningful way. Take your burn rate and like take your cash on hand and divide those, and so start to quantify it in time. And so when I've got years, like if your net worth is years, then you're like you're not doing the activity like even for that reason. I believe I'm trying to be the best coach I can for my kids.
Does that spill over into coaching integrators and employees?
Part of it.
Yeah.
Now it's like, so I say coach because I just like think of it in that way of like developing them as great humans is what I want to be, like a great parent is really what it is. But when I frame it for like coach for myself, I'm like, why do I still work every day? Literally every day I would say I do something that someone who rocks a 9 to 5 would say like, that's work. Because I think the kind of human that I want to develop in my kids is one that feels the responsibility to deliver as much value, like to who much is given, like much is required.
Yeah.
And everything that I need to accomplish the mission that God has put on my heart is within me. So like the breath, the time, what I have here is enough to be productive and say yes today. And so part of that is like, the cool thing about business is to create as much value as possible, and you receive a portion of the value you create.
Can you talk about some of the celebrity clients that you have?
I think so. Sure.
Okay. I remember when Tony Robbins had his launch and I was just
Yeah.
looking at his funnel, looking at the journey, and there was a moment where I'm like, oh shit, the back end of this is HL Pro Tools.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, cool, love it. And then I go on Facebook, and then it's like you and Erica and your child and your children on vacation somewhere.
Mm.
And I'm like, if I had Tony Robbins launch, which I remember some of their stats were like 50,000, whatever the number was on how many sub accounts were created.
Yeah.
And to know that you were on vacation, what are some of the systems that you had in place that allowed you to be on vacation and have Tony Robbins do their huge launch last year?
That's it. This is I'm glad you brought this up, because this is a classic example of gap in the gain for entrepreneurs. Is like, that actually should be a marked moment of accomplishment for me. And I just forget it. You know what I mean? It's like, moving on to like, it's always the next mountain sort of thing there. But yeah, they, by far, the largest launch that's ever been done inside of High Level, the largest launch we've ever done. And it was my 10-year anniversary. So I was in Hawaii literally that day.
Yeah.
Did not open my laptop. Didn't get any phone call, like nothing. I literally I had no idea whether it was succeeded or failed. And that was a product of a lot of systems. I would say a strong piece of that is I continue to push myself to have a bigger and bigger dream, to attract like high achievers, great team members, and continue to build systems of high trust and high accountability. And the right folks just thrive in that space.
Was there any level of anxiety while you were in Hawaii?
I had zero. And I'll tell you, like, part of that, here's why. And this is kind of crazy for folks. If HL Pro Tools died tomorrow, my life would look no different. Which is astonishing to say. But especially this level. And I could tell you, even if I personally clear seven figures a year from HL Pro Tools, and it literally, like, I could sweep and be like, just don't have that, and my life is still unchanged.
Is it because of systems that you set elsewhere?
It's because, like I told you, it was the obsession with just sort of living beneath your means, and then also an obsession with
run rate,
with margin.
Okay.
And so I started.
So this is a new formula.
Pre kids, I started pulling a ton of digital funds into non-digital investments. And so the biggest one that I believe in, that like cash flows a lot of things, is real estate. And so I'm just like not super sophisticated. So it's like I just trust other folks. And so it's a combination of like syndicated multifamily and single family. We just own outright. And so but it cash flows our life. And so which for some folks, their aspiration is just freedom.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, my fundamental worldview is that no matter what I do, I'm going to be submitted or slave to something, and I've chosen who I submit to. And so I don't idealize freedom the same way that a lot of folks do, because one, my freedom is found independent of what I make, like what I do from that side of it. And then, as a secondary effect, truly from like the cash flow in our life. Like, so it's like, I multiple times over do not need to work.
At what point, because you mentioned in part one of this series with you that you would get a call from a $10,000 client.
Your day was ruined.
And your day was ruined, and so on and so forth. And then now you're like, hey, Tony Robbins is launching with us. Cool. I'm going on vacation. And this is one of the biggest launches in high level history.
Yeah.
And you're essentially supporting that activation. At what point in this 4-year journey did you turn on that switch?
Oh man.
It just sounds like it's just like, oh fuck it, like it's just normal. But
no, I know, you're right. It was step by step. It wasn't a moment where it switched. And so like, I really believe in the concept of fences and walls. So fences, I think like chain link fences, those are the boundaries you set, but you can hop over them sometimes. Walls are the non-negotiables. I do not cross that whatsoever. And more so, as I developed a good skill of saying no, is also basically it's being okay with standards, with boundaries, and continuing to refine and mature those. And so initially, like day one, we brought my son home, eventually came home from the NICU, and I was like, this is a wall. I'm part of a preemie. He had to, it was just a very different first few months of life. You basically like sleep all the time. So you have to wake him up, which is like nice. And from that standpoint, but we fed him every 3 hours, like clockwork. He just had to be on schedule. We literally like had to wake him up, and we alternated breastfeed, bottle feed. And so I took all the bottle feeds. So a wall in my life was I fed my son essentially, what does that pace out to be, like every
6 hours?
Every 6 hours. So every 6 hours, 24 hours a day, I was on. That means there are times during the workday where it's like I'm not working. Like that's blocked off. And so definitely day one of HL Pro Tools is already a set standard there of these hours, Matt's unavailable. And so what it gave me is the building blocks to believe that like it's all a false constraint anyways. Whether we hit our goals or don't, when we work, when we don't, all of it is pre-decided. And basically, if you don't decide, you're pre-deciding, right? So it's like folks are like, my schedule's open all the time, 24/7, whatever it is. People can text me, call me, do all this stuff. It's like you pre-decided that. Like it is just as valid for you to say, like I do right now, I only work until like on a content day now, I work until 11 a.m. On like a regular day, 10 a.m. And I do start on the earlier side. So I might start at like 5:30 connecting with the team. But like even the majority of that is not even calls. I'm like doing deep work until that point. And you'd be like, Matt, why do you do that? Well, because my big win is raising kind and confident adults who want to spend time with them and no longer have to. And I believe I need to optimize for overlap with their waking part of the day. Yeah. And so when my sons are, and they just happen to sleep in, if they woke up early in a different schedule, like I'm adjusting my schedule to them. I'm choosing to maximize my time with them, and like that's the constraint, and grow a remarkable business to, I truly believe, to over $100 million. And so to do that, I play this fun game of constraints. But so it starts with that of like, it's not a one-time switch. It was small steps in the right direction, because winning in that way, it's like all these other hard, long games to play. Over the last year, I've lost 40 pounds.
Yeah.
I didn't eat salad one day. Sorry, I ate salad like every day. But I'm saying like, it wasn't that I had salad for lunch once.
Yeah.
And then it switched. It was like, no, I had salad for lunch every day for a year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not that I shifted and had like a high protein dessert once. It's like, no, I have a high protein dessert every day. And so those small habits that stack over time, they start with deciding where do I want to go? And then under what conditions?
This has been a powerful episode to really understand like how you think, because there's a lot of the tactical, but what I'm hearing is that before the tactical, it's the way of being. It's the way of thinking. And if you can understand the way of thinking, all the tactical stuff will come.
For me, because I've been if we want to go far, go together. If you can't master basically setting vision and then setting constraints, those are two key variables to empower a team. That's what high performers need. Where are we going? Under what terms? You tell someone that, they're going to solve problems differently, right? And it's like we talk about like the bridge building. If I say build a bridge, given no other constraint, they might build it out of wood and or if you say like get to the other side of like the river, they might start chopping down trees and assembling them together because they know how to build a bridge that way. If I say like get to the other side of the river in the next hour, they might be like, okay, I'm going to do a rope swing, right? And if you say like get to the other side of the bridge in the next hour and like use as much technology as possible, they'll be like, oh, there's a hovercraft over there. Like I can buy it and then just like hovercraft over there. So it's vision of where you're going, the constraints of how you're going to get there. And then for me, it's just been a deep conviction that I want to positively affect as many people along the way. And I know with confidence, if I only want to serve me and my family, it's kind of done. But I think the kind of people that I want my kids to be are those that have a conviction to hard work to solve meaningful problems for as many people as possible. And I think that's, for me, a life well lived is a life in service to others. And so, yeah, I'm going to continue to get good at clarifying where we're going, why we're going there, and how we're going to get there.
Are you completely reliant on High Level being successful?
You mean as like a human or as
no.
HL Pro Tools?
No, High Level, the company.
No, I know. But so I'd say like...
Oh, HL Pro Tools, the company.
HL Pro... Us as a company, like we live in the ecosystem.
Yeah.
Right? So like, yeah. But here's what I believe. Because I've talked to a lot of big businesses. Most folks say like, oh, that's a risk. It's a liability. Single market risk. I feel like we are it'd be like if I had a e-commerce store on Amazon in 2009 and someone was like, that's such a risk. You're only on Amazon. You're only on Amazon. You're only on Amazon. Eventually the tables turn and they're like, oh, how wise.
Mm-hmm.
You went all in on Amazon, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in the come up, being in one space feels like a liability. If that space grows to critical space, then it's an asset. And I'd say the same thing is true. Like if you were an internet business in 1997, they'd be like, wait, you're only online? You're only an internet business? You're only an internet business? Eventually they're like, oh, how wise. You went all in on internet.
What I've seen in High Level that they build apps or you can build apps on top of the High Level app.
Yep.
And if it's a great app, High Level may find features in your app that they adopt and then they bring it in to their app. Is there elements of HL Pro Tools that they could just do it themselves and without you being involved, and to the point where customers say, I don't need HL Pro Tools?
Yeah.
Is it a mindset of, well, let's pivot and let's create more? Or is it a mindset of like, oh shit, let me prepare for that?
I think, wisdom's critical. So we're definitely never like operating in foolishness, but if it really comes down to like what problem are you solving? High Level is at its core, and like what problem are you solving and what value do you bring? So what problem is High Level solving and what value does it bring? Fundamentally, I'd say they're solving the problem of accessible and powerful business marketing tools.
Yeah.
Tools. That's it. And so it's like that's the problem they're solving. What value do they bring? A heavy hitter, hyper focused, aggressive developer team. That's what they bring. We solve a fundamentally different problem and we deliver a fundamentally different value. And so it'd be like, it's like if it almost feels like we are a, it's like we're a server and they're a chef. Even more juxtaposition of skills. Like, who would be the last person you want to try to teach a non-technical person a robust platform? A developer. Literally, because they will immediately dive into the weeds. They will fundamentally geek out on the engineering aspect of it, the technical prowess of it. And to a non-technical person, they're like, I'm actually turned off by this way that you're describing what you do. Like if High Level was like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to interview all of our developer team and use that as marketing materials. People would run the other way. Yeah. They would run the other way. Yeah. So they have a product that its asset is powerful, hyper, like aggressive dev team. But that strength is also a weakness.
Is operating in wisdom rather than foolishness is, I'll give you a scenario. When they launch the premium support and they start doing essentially what HR Pro Tools does in agency support, and they're like, hey, we're going to give you Slack and so on and so forth. Is it, I'll wait if anything were to happen where they go to sub-accounts? Or is it, let's prepare now and let's prepare for the next evolution of HR Pro Tools?
It's still...
Or neither.
They this is interesting. This is how like people get traction. We're bootstrapped. They're funded. What's happening right now, and I love the ecosystem. We live in it, right? We right. Their gaps create our opportunity. Here's one of their gaps. They are being charged with a mandate to monetize every minute to an SMB. We talked about this in the last episode.
I mean, every minute. All points of usage?
Yeah, all points of usage, but I mean like every minute. So let's imagine that model where they're like direct support. They're going to be charged to charge you per minute.
Got it.
Because they're going to think this is fair, this is good, this is how we do it. I don't know if they're going to watch this and change the strategy here, but I think part of it is the charge of return on investment. I'll say this, part of what facilitated the deal that I was able to do with Zappy Chat was they were funded and we were bootstrapped. When you get funded, you get charged with aggressive growth goals. Because
and was their acquisition part of their...
It aligned with their aggressive growth goals. Just imagine, let's say hypothetically, you take funding and you're charged to 5x your company over the next year. And then hypothetically, you've only grown by 30% in half the year. If you could acquire another company that would 2x your growth,
done.
You kind of have to at that point because you don't have the grace. Like remember he's talking about the false constraints.
Yeah. You
don't have the grace of being like, hey, what a good year. We grew by 50%. Like I told you, like our goal this year was grow by about 100%, which is still aggressive. However, it pales in comparison to a funded company's growth goals. I'm telling you, like,
and to do it bootstrapped.
That's what I mean. Like we're doing it well in a category at a size that is, I think already, I'm super proud of the team and what they're doing there. But I just know and I've seen this happen, when you're funded, you have different goals to a different caliber. And so you have to do things like that they might have short-term wins and might have long-term losses, or they might have marginal wins. So for example, they might optimize and say like, hey, if they could just get 100 people to buy into this relatively, usage-based higher price model, that'd be a win for them. Well, that's fine. I don't need 100 people that want to like go that way anyways. You know what I mean? And so like when you're fundamentally priced differently, when you fundamentally deliver differently, I also say we're a space where you're competing on people. It is a team. That's it.
On Instagram, you mentioned that you know how many leads you're getting, what your churn is going to be, your customer acquisition cost. So you knew your metrics. In your journey to a $100 million business, a $100 million company, do you need funding to get there?
No.
Are you clear
not yet.
Are you clear on the journey to get to $100 million?
I'm clear. So I'll tell you for us, I am clear on how to get to. I'm clear to how to get to 30 million bottom line. I don't know. So my goal is 30 million bottom line. That would be a no-brainer $100 million acquisition for someone.
So is the target $100 million rev? $100 million valuation?
$100 million sale.
$100 million sale.
That's it.
So in a journey of getting to $30 million bottom line, your valuation is at over $100 million or $100 million. And is that the idea that you want to accomplish first?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'll be real. Like we gave equity to the team and we give the company to the team, and I want folks on our team to have a life-changing experience there. And so like we just mapped it out and everyone's aligned. Everyone knows the goal. Everyone knows where we're shooting for. Everyone knows why. And I'm telling you, like that happens. Matt Deseno's life doesn't change at all. I mean, like my day-to-day will probably not change at all, but I know there's other folks that will be like, I can now buy the house of my dream. I can now buy a business. I can now like this, their participation in what we're doing in the season will be a marked moment that I will tell my kids about 80 years from now. And honestly, what I'm hopeful for is that as many people as possible that come alongside of me, I'm going to be having this conversation 500 years from now. I'm going to be looking back and saying, like, what kind of like positive impact, what kind of echo was possible. And as I said, I really mean, like, we'll tell that story in eternity of the echo of positivity that was possible because we worked hard, we solved meaningful problems, and we created so much value in the marketplace that people happily cheered as this was possible. Because, like, that's what I'm shooting for. That's what I'm shooting for is that story there. And it comes down from like a daily discipline, like being great at saying no, being clear on what I'm going to say yes to, aligning as many people into the vision, and just setting the constraints because they're all false.
Would HL Pro Tools and BAM overall be what it is today without the integrator?
No, not at all.
If you
that's like saying, I genuinely feel it's like saying, would my family be what it is without my wife?
Yeah.
You're like, no, it wouldn't exist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was truly a pairing that worked together. So I give tons of kudos and tons of so much credit to Graham and our partnership. Truly, like, I think he would say the same, that like we just work well together. And so like we could do a whole nother show just on partnerships and how to do that really well. But like that is the make and break. You say like success in life as a human being, choose your spouse. Success, like have a great spouse, have a phenomenal life. And I'd say in business, have a great partner, have a phenomenal business. Have a subpar partner or crappy partner or an unethical partner, and it's like you will not succeed. And so those kind of things, who you decide to come alongside with, matters so much. I can't overstate it.
If you were to start all over again, would that be essentially a key determining factor for you that you need the right integrator inside of your company? Or knowing what you know now, can you say, dude, I could do it all myself?
Oh, no. I mean, it depends on what you want to accomplish.
What you're doing right now, $100 million business.
Oh, yeah.
Or even to get to the current stage that you're at.
Yes. Yeah. You can't. I don't think you can get. It depends on your numbers,
being
your finance in there.
A successful solopreneur is not real, is what I'm.
No. Define success for yourself. There are plenty of folks, incredible solopreneurs, that optimize to that. That's what they want. I actually admire. We have some folks in our in the HLPT family, right? So like this is partners here who are solopreneurs, and they found a way to clear $30,000 a month. Very high leverage. They're optimized for their time. They don't need a partner. They don't have a partner. Some people might scoff and be like, well, you're only doing $500,000 a year. But they're like, yeah, but I'm clearing. Like they are maximizing their rich life, which is the gap between what you have and what you need. That's that margin, that space there. So like their monthly expensive might literally be less than like 10K, and they're clearing 30K, and they're still living an experience of like, they can't even imagine spending more than what they're currently getting. They have super satisfied, content lives. They like work at the pieces that they want to work in. So like you can be a very successful solopreneur.
What revenue were you at when you brought Graham in?
We, when I brought Graham in, we did a lot of volatility, but we'd done 7 figures a year. Because we had a combination of project-based and retainer stuff. So there was ebbs and flows there. But so I did my first $1 million plus without Graham. And so I'd say like that's possible. And so that's what I mean. It's like, it's not possible. It was very stressful. I did it without kids. You know what I mean? So like there's all sorts of things where it was more doable because I was willing to pay the price.
For someone who watched all of the episode, both episodes,
Okay.
part 1 and part 2, and completed it all and took it like a masterclass.
Okay.
What do you need to tell that person to understand of what to do next? If they're like, hey, I like Matt. I feel like I feel like me and him were just hanging out. They're listening to this in the bathtub the whole entire, couple hours. But they're like, man, there's so much to unpack in real life aspect. And I'm sure there's people at different revenue levels, different personal lives, and so on and so forth. But what do they do next? What is something that they should truly understand? what I'm hearing from you so far is that you have a gift without a shadow of a doubt. God has blessed you tremendously throughout your journey, that you have a gift. And there's like 100 directions that you're moving in so many different aspects, from kids to wife to operating in business. But for someone who's an entrepreneur, they're a digital entrepreneur, and they're like, okay, there's so much to unpack. What is my first step, regardless of revenue?
Yeah.
Regardless of size.
Go order coffee and ask for a discount.
Love it.
I'm going to come back to that. I think get super comfortable with saying no, and it will serve you the rest of your life. Even if you don't know what you want to say yes to, get super comfortable at saying no. Remove the stigma of negativity there. And at the very least, margin is the space. It's basically no. Margin is no. If you have margin in your business, I said, no, I'm not going to spend. If you have margin in your calendar, it means, no, I'm not going to book it. If you have margin in your relationship, it means like, no, I'm not going to overextend myself. It is the no space. Is margin there? That is the definition of profit. That is the definition for most folks, is the rich life, is the gap between what I have and what I need. We live in a time and a space where it is easy to live a marginless life. Your calendar can be booked out to the minute. You can go into debt. You can way overexpend what you even have. And so I think the most valuable skill you can have is saying no to protect that margin, that space, that rich life. And so I would wish that on everybody, to become a master at saying no, because you are way more likely to live a rich life.
Matt Deseno, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me on the Andy Audate Show, my friend.
Thanks for having me.